Hello, welcome back to the channel where I have not one, but two muscle cars. I'm here with my friend and colleague Richard Lane. Richard, I've brought along a Ford Mustang, which is claimed to be the most powerful in the UK on sale because it's got 850 horsepower from the import of Clive Sutton. Yeah, exactly. You're standing next to a Camaro.
Yep, it's a ZL1. ZL1? CL1?
CL1, tomato.
Camaro. I think this one is actually the most powerful Gen 6 Camaro in the UK as well. So, and you know what? We don't see many muscle cars in the UK, and when we do, they tend to be quite ordinary ones. So it's quite good to have two completely unhinged cars from two of the biggest muscle car purveyors ever.
Yeah, totally. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the Mustang. The owner has brought this Camaro along, so Ricky's going to talk to him. Then we're going to go for a drive. It's not a twin test, which is better sort of thing. It's just a celebration of some cool muscle that we don't see very often.
So I'm here with Gary Handa. Thanks, Gary. Now, Gary got in touch with us actually pre-pandemic, so a long time ago, and said, I think I might have something you guys might be interested in, and indeed he did. So Gary, tell us a little bit about your ZL1.
So it's a 2018 Camaro ZL1. I bought it mainly because I didn't want a muscle car in the traditional sense.
Right.
Because of all the research I've done, this does everything. Chevy call it a triple threat. So it's a great road car, it's an incredible track car, and it also burns down the quarter mile with consummate ease.
I'm sure it does. And so just in terms of hardware then, we've got a 10-speed automatic box, and then we've got this V8, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, essentially the same as a Corvette ZR1 from the last generation?
It's the Corvette Z06 supercharged 6.2 V8. The mods that I've done on it are fairly simple, which they call bolt-ons. So we've added a ported supercharger, or rather we've had the supercharger ported, the exhaust, pulleys, things like that. It's now pushing 770 horsepower and over 1,000 Nm of torque, up from the standard 650 pound-foot of torque and 650 horsepower. It's adequate.
And lastly, why Camaro? Why ZL1? And why not a Mustang?
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have to say, it does look fantastic. But
yeah, because it isn't a Mustang or it isn't a Charger, and it just does everything so well. It really is quite an incredible car.
Okay, mate, so welcome to the Mustang CS850R. Oof.
yeah.
It's got a short shift, so it's really short, really nice actually.
Gosh, yeah, what, billet aluminium?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, really nicely done. And it's really short. The only thing, if you've got a tall cup and a cup holder, it gets in the way slightly, but I'll forgive it now.
Which leads me on to my first question. Matt, you've driven a lot of regular Mustangs, probably hundreds, possibly thousands. Does this car feel appreciably different then, just when you're poodling around 30, 50 miles an hour? Does it feel special? Does it feel?
Yeah, it does feel special, but I think on the road, as a normal road car, you can drive it just like a normal Mustang, and it's got suspension set up for the UK in mind. So they've got revised springs, dampers, roll bars. So it's not too harsh, it's not crashy, it's just got enough suppleness, but it's not floaty or anything like that. And I really like what it's like, but you can feel that sort of latent potency, and even when you're not going really quickly, we're not now, you just hear that Whipple supercharger whining away, and it really, so it revs to like 7.5-ish, which is a lot in it for a 5-litre V8.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes a proper old whine when you get up there. Once it's sort of warmed through, it makes a proper whine.
You can just hear it starting to creep in at sort of 2,500, 3. I guess that's the problem though with Mustangs. It is a big, long car. So when you try to make a really fast one, the temptation is to just make it ridiculously stiff to sort of compensate for that flex in the shell.
Yeah.
But it seemed to have, just as a passenger nav, it do seem to have struck quite a nice balance, actually.
Yeah, I think so. And it's a big car on the road in the UK, whatever you do.
Frisky.
Yeah, quite lively, isn't it? But as well as it's good, So I've turned up put it into the sort of track mode and then ESC off and everything.
So is that everything off then?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, I mean, I'll find out in a minute. But I think, I think what I like about it is it doesn't feel floaty. It doesn't feel. It feels big, but it doesn't feel loose or wild or anything like that. It just feels, tied down, like a proper front-engined rear-wheel drive, nicely balanced thing. The body control is good. If you trail the brake into a corner, it keeps the nose tucked in, and then when you get back on it again, it's got.
There we go.
It's got enough pump to.
Is the steering quick enough to catch it when it goes?
Yeah.
Steering feel? Got much?
There is some. It's got a very consistent weight and a very sort of consistent feel to it, and I think there is enough. Yeah, there is enough. I don't think it's not GT3 levels of feedback or anything like that, but it's accurate and precise, and it gives you and it's got enough speed. And I think it adopts the right sort of angle at the right sort of time. It's a big lazy, long chassis. It does sound weird, doesn't it? That sort of hesitation in the way the whine goes.
In the way the
whine of the supercharger. Bip, 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 bip.
It flutters in a slightly strange way. It is a pretty physical experience, though. I think.
Yeah.
Certainly from the passenger seat, starting to smell some tyres now as well. But the regular Mustang has got that sort of. It can lope. It's really quite a lazy car, actually. Whereas this does feel. I know that if we were out here in a regular UK spec 5-litre Mustang, it wouldn't be anything like as sort of alert and.
No,
not willing to mess about, because it would mess about, but this has just got quite a sort of evil feel to it in a way. It's quite serious.
Yeah, it does feel like a proper sports car. Not just a muscle car, not just a big, loose, lazy thing.
So here's a big question: 115 grand. What does that get you in the 2-seat sort of driver's performance car arena? Obviously, GT3. Although, to be honest, that's less about having the cash and more about just being able to secure one.
Yeah, because you won't get one at that money. No doubt.
You've got the rear-wheel drive Audi R8, which is actually
a good car.
Yeah, some people prefer the Quattro version, and I totally get that. But for me, it's got a bit more in the steering. That rear-wheel drive R8. I think that for me is a fantastic option at about 120 grand. Vantage?
And that especially that new F1 edition, which feels, in a way, it does feel like this because it's more tied down, it's tighter, it will slide around, but it's not just a big Larry drift thing. It feels quite precise, like in a way like this does.
It has got that buttery rear axle as well. We had the Vantage F1 at Myra for the full road test coming soon, and the front end isn't quite as responsive as you initially think it's going to be, but the back is so buttery, and that transition between grip and slip, I think, is probably comfortably slicker than in this car.
Yeah, yes, I think that's probably true. Yeah, I think it's probably true.
It's not bad,
but the thing about this is that, if you do spec one of these, and the good thing about Suttons is the fact they've got like a configurator, they'll do finance, they'll do all of the normal, the warranty, all of the normal stuff that you do when you go and buy a special car. But this has got that you don't expect necessarily from a modified car. So like Gary's Camaro, you're going to tell me about in a moment. He's had to source it himself. He's sourced the bits himself and everything else. You just go to them and you just spec it like you would going to any other dealership. There's quite a lot to be said for that. Mm-hmm. But then you'd end up with a car that nobody else really has got quite a rare old thing.
Oh, totally.
And there's something to be said for that. Would it be where I would put my 115? Well, I'd probably have like 5 other cars.
This does feel like
which point, so maybe you would, at that point you go, well, actually, what I'd also like, in addition to my supercar and my Range Rover and my aerial Nomad and everything else, is an 850 horsepower Mustang.
Because you are firmly into why not territory
Yeah,
at that
exactly.
stage. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I like it a lot. But,
Okay.
Should we jump in the Camaro?
Yeah, we will jump in the Camaro. I just want to go 2 things you like about this car and 2 things you're not sure about.
Oh, okay. What do I like? I like how sporty, tied down, generally tied down propeller it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I like how fast it is. What don't I like? It does feel big on the UK roads. I want to play more with the transition between slip and not slipping.
It's a bit spiky, isn't it, at times?
It might be, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not used to it. And you know what, with lockdown and everything, mate, I'm slightly out of practice.
Yeah, fair enough. So, welcome to the inside of Gary's ZL1, or 770 horsepower.
It feels firmer than the Mustang.
It feels a little bit more serious, I must say. A little bit more pedigree. If that's not, is that unfair? I'm not sure.
Well,
it is.
I don't know yet.
It's just got that low speed jostle, which is quite reassuring. I also really like the cabin layout in here. Actually, they've in some ways managed to take a massive car and give it an absolutely tiny interior somehow. Yeah. But at the same time, this pillbox view out is brilliant.
That is cool, isn't it?
Got a light above our head as well.
Yeah.
I like this. When Gary talks about being able to sort of GT this car, essentially, I get that. Like, these are really quite good seats, actually.
Yeah.
And the visibility is also pretty good. And just looking out over that power dome for the 6.2 litre V8, and yeah, I quite like it in here, actually.
It feels to me like the movements are sort of shorter and sharper. Is that?
Yeah. There's one thing that I wasn't expecting in this, and that is the steering feel and the integrity in the steering. Yeah, it's an electric rack. It's not hydraulic anymore. I don't think it's been hydraulic in the Camaro for a long time. But it's got a really nice directness. It's got lots of that sort of incidental feel that bubbles up, and it gives you the confidence you kind of need in a car this big. This is probably getting on for what, 1,900 kilos all said and done. It is a massive car. Yeah. I'm not sure it's quite as big as the Mustang, but yeah, that steering does give you a lot of confidence. And even better still, we've got a missile lock on, everyone.
So it's got methanol, distilled water, 50-50 mix.
Yeah, there's a little mixture, 5 litre tank in the back.
And that fires it into the inlet manifold to keep it cooler?
Yeah, when you're on boost.
Right. Essentially.
So, track work, really. I mean, and that's 5 litre tank, and you'll get through that as it'll depend on how often you're on boost. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is quite cool. And that's actually not standard. That is a modification on this car.
And what's that gearbox like?
Sorry, Max. Oh, here we go again.
It's much louder than a Mustang, isn't it?
It is very, very loud. It's definitely loud. It's so loud that on about part throttle, 3,500 revs. Anything more than that, forget about it. You just can't talk. Yeah. We need a rally intercom system in here, if I'm being completely honest.
What happens when that's flashing? Is that bad?
I don't know. He wasn't concerned. He said ignore it. So,
like completely ignore it.
I think so. I mean,
should probably turn it off again, shouldn't we?
Here we are again.
Here we are again, same place. Anyway, so 10-speed auto. Nice.
Yeah, so you've basically got 2 transmission options in this car. You've got this 10-speed Hydromatic auto box, or you've got a 6-speed Tremec.
Okay.
This box is fine. I'm not going to pretend it's the last word in sort of speed and precision, but it gets the job done well enough. You know, you can pop in a couple of downshifts in the braking zone and it will get them done reasonably cleanly. It's got that nice incidental feel, good response. And the other thing is, in so many muscle cars, especially if you're used to driving European sports cars, there's often just that faint lag. You turn in and then the nose just takes a moment and then it does what it's told. And actually, in this, even though it's on the less tied down of the two suspension options Camaro offers. So it's either this magneto-rheological setup.
Oh yeah, okay.
Or you've got what's known as a DSSV setup, which is absolutely brutally stiff, but it's what they use to set these amazing lap times at the Nürburgring. I think it's in a 716, and that was the suspension they used for it. This doesn't have that, but I think the regular magnetic suspension does a really good job because, you don't get that call and then response turning you get in so many muscle cars. This, you just scrub the speed off, turn it in, and in goes the nose, and then immediately the back end wants to play a little bit.
And is it? So this is a stock suspension setup.
This is stock, yeah. I think it's running a slightly shorter spring on this, which is why we're getting just a little bit of wheel arch rub.
Oh, okay. And in terms of price?
Well, I mean, the rule of thumb is if you're importing a muscle car from America, just take the dollar price, put a pound sign on it, in which case this car ends up at about £65,000. And I have to say, that strikes me as absolutely ridiculously good value for money. For a car with this much character and ability, clearly it's got ability. It is ruthlessly quick. As I say, the steering is a really pleasant surprise. Yeah, I think for 65 grand, what can you get? I mean, I think you can spec a 4-cylinder Boxster to getting on to 55 or 60 grand now.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I think with that Mustang, you sort of look at the price and you go, can you justify that? And with this, you look at the price and you go, that's good value.
Yeah, it's just justified immediately.
Yeah. So there you have it. Thanks for joining us for this slightly noisy video. It's a celebration of two muscle cars. We're here all the time with reviews, twin tests, releases, motor shows. We'll go to one of those one day, won't we? Again?
I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I really hope so.
Also join us at autocar.co.uk. We're in all good news stations every Wednesday since 1895. Thanks for joining us, and if you click the bell notification icon and subscribe, you'll never miss one of Autocar's videos. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.